Welcome back and congratulations there to Mammoth. And before we send Mammoth off into the good night, welcome to Bambi as well, to the OPL. And Rusty, there are worse showings for a first game than that.
Yeah, there definitely is. We were jokingly talking about this before as well, but Halo's entry to the OPL was a really rough one.
You have to hit him like that.
Absolutely. He's playing today, so we're going to keep that one in mind. He got camped constantly, and that was the joke that I was making when Nick came back. I was like, the same thing. He had a good showing here today, Bambi, but he copped a level 3 welcome to the OPL that seems to be becoming a custom here.
Spawn, Mammoth obviously going out on the high. It feels a little unfair that the two teams that were out of contention had to play each other, so that there would inevitably one of them would end the season with a loss. But Mammoth, showed quite a few bright spots over the course of the season.
Yeah, I'm saying it within the last 4 weeks, Mammoth have actually looked like a pretty good team. They have had some rough games still, so as all young teams, inconsistencies have plagued them. But their high moments have actually been quite memorable, and I would say Mboma especially has really stepped up and surprised me. So I'm a big fan of this Mammoth lineup. Chungy played on an OCS team that I had. I've worked with Mboma before. I know they have great attitudes as players. So that's all you can really have in one of your first seasons as a starter within the OPL. It was never going to be easy for them, especially with how stacked some of the lineups are. You look at Direwolves, Order, Chiefs, Legacy on paper, you knew that they were going to struggle to kind of compete. But the fact that they took head-to-head against the top 4 team is really impressive.
I think what you mentioned there is maybe the most important thing in general for players as well, Spawn, because having someone come in like Fudge and just be a complete anomaly, you have to remember that they are the anomalies. You're not meant to come in on your rookie season and just be a monster. That is pretty difficult to do. So having the attitude to improve and showing that you're willing to have longevity is very important for going into the next year, right? For people recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of them study as well, so they're doing it in the right way. I always say this to people, unless you can land yourself on a first or second team within the OPL, don't close off the rest of your life. Continue to either work, have social lives, maybe even study on the side. And I think that, from what I know of these guys, a lot of them do that, and they treat this more as something that they would like to pursue, but they're not necessarily all in on it yet. So I think that, as an organization, that's been a pretty cool process to watch Mammoth go through this year.
And hopefully that Mammoth team, while there may be some adjustments, hopefully the core can sort of stick together and continue to work in that off-season, like you were talking about, Spawn. Just the idea that you get the experience as a team together could see them coming back in a really strong position next split. So congratulations to Mammoth and Gravitas and Mammoth. We will see you guys next split. I did just see in the chat, where is it? Knee Basher says, I need to know why Skimmy only decorates a portion of his wall. And I can't tell you how triggered I am by it. It's not my room, so that's fine. But he has grouped things in a way where I'm just like, why? Is there a hole that we're covering up? What is the... I want to actually buy him some frames and send them to him. I need 5 minutes in that room. It's very... I realize it's only me and Knee Basher who really care about this, but Knee Basher, you have a brother in me. Alrighty. Before we get to the next segment, I wanted to call out EPOS, who are running the GSP 600 gaming headset. We are going to be announcing the winners of that competition a bit later in the show, so a massive thank you to everyone who has entered that. EPOS have been a fantastic sponsor over the course of the split, giving away a multitude of headsets and giving the OPL a lot of love. So just wanted to give a shout out there and say thank you very much to EPOS for all your enormous support, alongside, of course, NeoSurf and Maccas. All right, it's time to move on, and it is time to jump into the LCK. We're nearly there. Oh, sorry, Spawn.
Before you do that, what is the movie where the guy digs out of his prison cell when there's a...
Shawshank Redemption.
Thank goodness. I was going to, literally, that was me done for the day if someone hadn't have said that. Because I was going to be Shawshank Redemption. And then it just didn't come out. And then I couldn't even listen to what you were saying because my head had just imploded on itself.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
It is a poster of Rita Hayworth, I believe, that is on the wall that is hiding the... go watch the friggin' movie. All right, great flick, and we can only hope that that is Skimmy trying to tunnel out of Carbon's house. You've been there before, Spawn. You know what it's like. All right, it's time to jump into the LCK. We are nearly done with this. I mean, sometimes you start a sec and you go, you know what, this will be a fun way to fill some time on the OPL. And then you just go, there are a friggin' lot of League of Legends champions. But we're going to end strong because we've got the final 2 regions today before we do the finals on finals day. So we are barreling towards the end. This is the LCK and this is the Targon edition.
The sun's out, the crowd's ready. Let's wreck it!
I shall be the last thing you see. Lucky you.
Do you always fight so poorly?
Fantastic. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it just for this. Ocronosis in the chat just says the Prestige is good, which is a response to best movies of all time. Oh, it's like they're asking whether. Okay, I see. I mean, Rusty, please. You just watched that, right?
How good is the press? I just watched it twice. Like, it was recommended by you, and you've watched it a million times from what I know as well. That's such a good movie.
Yes, I have.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
I had a list when I was younger. I would say I've got in the top 3. There is Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Moulin Rouge. It is a wide gamut of films.
Yeah.
And so that's me done. Rusty?
I was a big fan of the Ocean series. That's always my number one for no particular reason. When I was younger, my mum was like a big fan of the actors for obvious reasons. So I ended up having to watch them, but then actually just fell in love with that series. So that's my number one.
With the obvious reasons that they're all friggin' gorgeous.
Very handsome men.
Yeah.
God.
Spawn?
I think
You
The
have a list.
Departed
He's Googling
is
it
like...
right
No, I'm not. I think The Departed is like my favorite movie ever.
That is a... Look, these are all excellent choices.
Because I love Mark Wahlberg's character in that film is what I aspire to be in real life.
I was going to say, that's like meeting goals for you, is him every time he's there in the police station with Alec Baldwin. You just need an Alec Baldwin to play off. That's what you need.
Correct.
All right, chat. Let us know your favorite movie in the chat, which you are already doing. So fantastic. Okay, the LCK. Speaking of favorites, Leona versus Diana. You got to pick. There could be only one. Who's it going to be?
Leona, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, look at the outfit.
Here's the thing, right? We're all gamers in here, so we never see the sun. So it's Diana.
There we go.
Look, that is as good a reasoning as we've had here.
But we also never see the moon by the same logic, so Rusty's abstaining, and therefore I get Leona and I win.
Well, I'll take it because Leona is also 63% of the chat, and just the outfit is fantastic. Like I think incredibly impractical to put on, very dangerous to wear, but it's a good look. It's a good look. Okay, congratulations, Leona. Number 2, Soraka versus Pantheon. Ooh. Soraka v Pantheon.
So, I don't know whether it's true to Pantheon's law still, but Pantheon is a man that has been infused by a god, but all he wants to be is a baker. I'm pretty sure, the old school law.
Really?
Yeah. Which is why there is a Baker Pantheon skin.
There is an Adam Sandler comedy based on that, surely, somewhere.
Absolutely.
So I am a huge fan of Pantheon based off that.
It's hard to beat that.
It is hard to beat that. I mean, you're spot on, Rusty, with the Adam Sandler. There is a terrible Netflix movie coming about that. I mean, I'm happy to take Pantheon for the Baker choice. That feels on brand for how we've been selecting these people so far, for all the things they want to do other than League of Legends.
Yeah, and
Rusty?
Soraka provides really nothing for me to want to choose her over Pantheon, to be blunt.
My goodness.
Is she a unicorn or a narwhal?
She's a narwhal, right? That's not a unicorn horn. Unicorn horns have
Do
like...
narwhals have legs?
No, but neither do unicorns, really.
I mean, yeah, true. No, she has hooves. No, that's it. Yeah, she does have hooves.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to say narwhal. Zoe versus Aurelion Sol is matchup number 3.
Oh, okay. What do you go for? Gigantic Cosmic Dragon or Annoying Child? I know I'm going to go with Aurelion Sol.
I mean, you already have an annoying child, so you need some Aurelion Sol in your life.
If Aurelion Sol was his proper size, Nick, he would be bigger than the entirety of Summoner's Rift.
That's too big. He wouldn't. It seems like an unfair advantage for a team to pick.
Zoe's a 6,000-year-old trickster deity of some kind.
Yep.
And there's theories with the key that she has on her being stolen from, like, Fiddlesticks and his lore that hasn't been decided. There's a lot of really cool things to do with Zoe. Because she's basically involved with every champion. But she's not a cosmic dragon. So, Aurelion Sol.
So there you go. Aurelion Sol wins simply because Cosmic Dragon and 71% of the vote in the chat. We've got one more to do, but we'll do it when we come back because it is time for game number 2. We're being told to throw already. We spent so much time talking about movies and baking that we forgot to hype up the fact that the games are mattering now. It's Order versus Direwolves. This is one that both teams have been hanging out for. There's a ton on the line for everybody. The evening starts now, ladies and gentlemen. Order versus Direwolves. Game 2 of day 2 of Super Week is coming up now with the Macca's Jam Select.
How do you think Order's going to fare?
Well, Order is, in my opinion, when I play this Order, I have the most fun out of any OPL team, so I'm looking forward to another really fun game. Hopefully we don't lose this time, though.
I think Harry is pretty fun to play against. He plays aggressively, and I like that, so yeah, I'm looking forward to playing against Harry.
I think if just 2v2 then our team bottom win, but if Swiper have TP then I think our bottom lose.
So Swiper, he's looked good on, his off-meta champs like Sion and stuff, but still look quite weak on the meta champs, so I hope he picks like Renekton or Sion or something and we have a good match.
How do you think Only will fare?
Well, I think Spawn finally, for once, his team's actually doing well. So now in the cast, he doesn't have to make up a fairy tale like last year.
We're in a great spot. Like compared to last split, we were like 4th seed, 5th seed or something like that. This split, we're looking very solid going into the playoffs as 2nd seed. So like, I'm not satisfied. Like when I look at our play, I just keep thinking to myself, like, we could be so much better. Like, I want to get better. I want to, just stomp and make playoffs and win the finals.
What can they do when it comes to crunch time, however, because that is going to be Harry getting focused right now. He's been shot down. Massive haymaker!
Any final sort of thoughts? I guess whether you know me as PVA, Dream, or Ref7, I appreciate whether you love or hate me, that you followed my journey through. And yeah, I really hope this is the year that I get people to know me and I get people to understand that I'm not messing around and I'm here to stay.
And here we go for the second game of the day. It's a big banger. It's Big Order taking on the Direwolves, looking to try and figure out who can get the head-to-head in this third and final game, as they're both tied at 1 apiece. And, well, if current form tells us anything, Order potentially are the favourites here, Spawn. I know you're an Order influencer, I'm going to call it. So you're going to be keen, obviously, for it to go that way. And obviously with the smack talk of Ubisoft there in the pre-game saying, look, mate, there's no fairy tales. Because, like, right now,
point out to
you're ahead. You're ahead.
Can I just point out to Ubisoft? There was 2 splits of OPL played last year, Skimmy. Right? There's split 1 and split 2.
Yeah.
We beat Direwolves in both splits. We made the grand finals in 1 and lost to the Bombers. And we lost to Mammoth, the eventual winners of the second one, and looked very, very good and competitive in that tournament. So I just... Why does Ubisoft always call me out? Like, Toby, get clicks a different way, buddy. You don't always have to call me out.
Well, he's a man that likes to stir the honeypot there as we get to see exactly what happens in this matchup. You sort of date your mind back to what happened in the first time these two teams met, and the Direwolves drafted a composition that was all about Wombo combo. We had the Rakan, we had the flanking Wukong that Chippy's played, and it just seemed to be no real answer that the Order roster could show their way. We had a solo tank in Swiper's Mordekaiser looking to try and deny somebody out of that fight to break up the CC train, but ultimately the power that the Direwolves really put themselves into was too strong. Then we come into the second game, right, and we had this big matchup in the top lane where Chippy's once again seemed to be a big focal point of this massive Aatrox trying to 1v5 everybody, a behemoth to try and take on down, but it was just too little too late. And based on the current form of how Order came into this from yesterday, 2 games with Renekton, they're not messing around. I'm super excited for that lane matchup in particular.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, because Chippy's has been really impressive this split. And you mentioned both games. The first one when he was on the Wukong, and we took a counter pick in the Mordekaiser. He was able to pick up a solo kill in the laning phase, and then he was really influential in those team fights. And coupled with Decoy's Rakan, there was just too many engage options for the Mordekaiser to be able to deal with there. Second time around, he teleports bottom lane, gets a double kill. I actually watched that game the other day and just comes back to top lane like an absolute beast. So I think that Chippy's, to me, is one of the players that could probably put his hat in the ring for MVP, to be perfectly frank, this season. I think it's a wide open race. I would actually love to see who the captains are going to vote in for it. But I think his team plays really well around him. They're one of the only topside focused teams. I keep saying this about the Direwolves, and it's always fun to play them because they play such a conflicting style, I think, to a lot of other people within the OPL. And obviously, we love the challenge because they were able to reverse sweep it. They're definitely a team that has very, very strong mental.
Definitely do have strong mental, and they're going to need it here today, Spawn, because both Legacy and Order are already locked in at first and second, respectively. That third spot and fourth are still up for grabs as to whether seedings will come alike. There's a very slim chance that Avant can still take that fifth and final spot and knock the Direwolves out, but all Direwolves need is at least one victory here today. If they don't find a victory here today, they leave it all up to chance as to what Avant can find, and Avant would need themselves a miracle run of getting a 2-0 tonight. That's going to be a tall order, given that they're going up against some very strong opponents as well. So I think when we talk about this narrative coming to Super Week about pressure being on, obviously Order want to perform. They want to have this perfect split going into playoffs, so they're fully ramped up and ready to rock and roll. But Direwolves, I'm sure, are feeling that burden of execution of we need that win. We need to get that sort of mental mind frame of we've taken out a very strong opponent and get ourselves geared up for those best of 3, best of 5s.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an interesting mindset to try and get into, Skimmy, because obviously we're pushing really hard at the moment, but I was listening to Reggie Miller and Shaq and a couple of the other guys from the NBA, and they were talking about the fact that when the LA Lakers clinched, right, your players kind of mentally go on vacation for a little bit. And it's really hard to bring yourself back from that. You have to be incredibly disciplined. And It doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad team now. It just means the job for this week is done. And you start looking forward. Because as a pro player, you're so much in the moment that you're not actually allowing yourself to look forward. But if you clinch, especially if, Order can't catch Legacy, really. Legacy just have to win, I actually think they're already first, right? So they can't catch them at all. So that there is nothing on the line this game from Order apart from just pride. So I think it will be pretty hard for the Order players to be present. Whereas the Direwolves, they're still yet to clinch. They need to win this game to be able to say, okay, we're in playoffs. We can focus on the Chiefs for next week. So I would expect a very motivated Direwolves to come out today. And I hope that Order shows up in yesterday's form. But when there's not really all that much in this game for them, they can't fall to third, they can't get to first. It would be quite difficult, I think, to get yourself in that flow state mindset that they seem to have been playing in for the last couple of games.
Well, it will be interesting nonetheless what kind of form we'll get to see here today. Small delay, as I'm sure you can already gather, as we're getting ourselves ready in for the second game of the day. It was a small issue actually capturing that Champion Select for us to showcase what the picks and bans will have been. I do have the word from our producer here, though, that they've actually managed to capture what those picks and bans are, so we'll have that up on the screen very shortly for both myself and Spawn to break down as we get into game. But super keen to really see what Direwolves can showcase. I mean, we harp on them because that's really where the pressure lies right now, and I'm sure it's never a nice situation when you know that you have control of your fate to sort of give that up and have to rely then on other opponents and sort of relying on what their form is like. I mean, we could touch briefly on what Avant have to go into today. They've got to face up against Legacy and up against Pentanet.gg as well. And I say, those are very tough opponents to take right now. So, there is a chance, but it is still very slim.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right, is that Avant would need to play some terrific League of Legends if they wanted to get this done, and Direwolves would have to get really unlucky. So I think Direwolves, they've got their fate in their own hands. If they win this game, they can finish technically 3 games clear of Avant Gaming, and it will look silly on us for ever mentioning the fact that these two teams were in a playoff race against each other. Looking at the next 4 games after tonight, there are some absolute crackers in there. Chiefs Direwolves, Avant Pentanet, as well as Chiefs Legacy are all going to be really great games, I have a feeling, Skimmy. And I'm just keen to see kind of what the power rankings looks like. Because as an OPL fan, it's very easy to, look at these games and think, you know what, there's not all that much on the line if Direwolves do clinch here. But power rankings going into Gauntlet are one of the most fun things you can have as an OPL fan. Because for some reason, it never happens where, 4th beats 5th, and then they beat 3rd. And then, it never runs the way it is. There's always a mad team either building off the back end of momentum or coming in with really great form. And who knows? If Dire will show up today, that could be the beginning of that great form. They could be the 5th seed, but they could be the scariest 5th seed that we've ever had because we've seen them in last Split's grand final. And when this team plays well, they are such a force to be reckoned with.
And that really was the change that Dire will start to showcase, the evolution when Chippy's in those games where it was like, back up against the wall. Okay, time to play the Vladimir, time to play the Malphite, time to showcase that I am more than just a bruiser one trick. I can bring so much diversity to this organization that we can do what we need to when the pressure is really building. Let's bring up that Champions League. We've got word from the producer that it is ready. As you can see there, Order and the Direwolves are the game we're looking forward to seeing. But we had a few issues getting into Champions League itself. So we've got it pre-recorded here for us to actually break into. And, first thing that springs out to mind for me has to be that, 1, Caitlyn's been let through. Bard is there for the taking. Ayla's not been able to achieve it, but they've gone for the Jhin, which we've already seen rare pop-off. And we're going to get that Scion once more.
And that's so funny. Has Chippy's just copped triple bans? Or does they start? I think maybe it's Trundle, Syndra, Camille, first 3, Nidalee, Renekton, and Volibear. That would make more sense because I was going to say if the bottom 3 bans are first bans, to just go Camille, Mordekaiser, Aatrox would be hilarious. But Chippy's on Kayle. That's interesting because you mentioned the evolution. He plays lane bullies. Then he started playing these tanky initiators. If he can pull out the hyper-scaling top laners, that probably makes him the most complete top laner up there with Topoon in the region at the moment. However, Swiper is back on Scion. I was going to mention it. Renekton Scion, across those 11 games that Swiper's played, he has yet to lose on his 2 best champions. So we'll be interested to see whether this is another dub in the column for the Scion.
I'm interested to see, given the amount of discussion right now as to, okay, when Caitlyn is picked up, what is the the best response to it? And a lot of people are saying, well, you just pick extra range, right, to compensate it. Obviously, Jhin is fantastic at that, but the trade-off is Jhin does not have any gap closers. He's very immobile, very much reliant on hitting that crit shot, right, to get that on-demand movement speed, whereas obviously Caitlyn can just use the 90 caliber net to disengage away, so has the ability to cheat tempo on 2 different fronts. So we've seen a case of these AD carries being phased out of the meta for such a long time because you've got these bruisers that can capitalize on that, jump on their head and abuse them, but then on the same end you say, well, do we worry more about the mid to late game part where I just can't play the game, or do I worry about losing my lane and the game being boomed by the 15-minute mark?
Yeah, and I think that it's not just the AD carry that deals well with Caitlyn. You do have to build a comp around her at the moment, Skimmy. So what Order's gone with in this composition is they've gone Zoe Jhin. And both of those champions actually outrange Caitlyn, right? So you just start throwing projectiles, you try and win the fling war, and if you're able to do so, then, you engage with the Scion and you have yourself a HP advantage at the start of the fight. The other way you can generally play against it is you play something like Leona Kai'Sa, and then that's just all about diving the Caitlyn. And you make her shift out of her itemization to pick up something like a QSS. Historically Melzahar and things like that have been really strong, or Skarner, because Caitlyn is one of those champions that she requires being ahead of the clock to actually do significant damage. And if you can deviate the build path by something like a QSS or make her build up, non-Berserker Greave boots, then she can fall off quite rapidly. So I think that we're going to see multiple ways to try and deal with Caitlyn as Gauntlet progresses. It's probably the easiest OP to leave up in Champion Select. We've seen it done a couple of times now, and a couple of different looks as to how you want to be able to beat it.
On that same note, very curious also about the jungle matchup in particular. The fact that Only has been targeted. His Nidalee has been so damn impressive whenever he plays it. It's his most played. He's 100% win rate on it. Understandable why you'd want to remove it. The Trundle on the opposite side, right? We know whenever they're looking to try and showcase the Scion, they always do remove that as their protection so the pillar cannot interrupt that charge. But I'm curious to see, because we have not seen Only really be known for this Lee Sin player. He's going to showcase it here today. He's played twice so far. Hasn't been able to find a win, but this is a very much iconic Meru champion for the Direwolves.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because definitely this year, Only hasn't been known for his Lee Sin. He played it a couple of times in Split 1 and a couple of times here. But historically, like, he's always been like quite a good young hands jungler. He's got the mechanics down pat on the champion. And I think we've just played kind of shockingly the couple of times he's picked it up, to be honest. It's a great matchup into the Olaf. Olaf has a lot of kill potential pre-level 6, but as soon as level 6 hits, Lee Sin starts winning the 1v1 duels, just has too much damage if Olaf ever pops that Ragnarok. So I'm interested to see how this one is played out. Also, you always need a flanker if you're playing against a super scale like the Kayle, because, you know, worst comes to worst, she gets out of control. You need to be able to kick her into the team. So I think it makes a lot of sense of where they're going with it.
Well, I'm very curious to see how this game actually pans on out as we get ourselves ready for this game. Looks like we're ready to go. Apologies for the delay. Game number 2 is now underway as Order are already secured and locked in at that second position. The pressure is off. They can focus now on towards playoffs. But as for Direwolves, they need just one win to guarantee themselves as the final member in that top 5.
And we'll see how this goes. Direwolves in split number 1 made the grand final, Skimmy. They ran the bottom half of the gauntlet. They went to 5 games a couple of times, and they fell just short of the legacy lineup. They would hate to miss the postseason completely. And I think that in the current situation, Order is one of those teams that is in terrific form, but if Direwolves are going to be able to beat anyone to make gauntlet and make a statement, it certainly would be the team from Melbourne.
Certainly would be. If you're a Direwolves fan, you want to see a big dub here today to secure themselves that position. If you're an Order fan, if you're an Avant fan, you want to see that team in the blue find that win here today to keep that dream alive. We get to see what happens here in this mid lane. You highlighted it already. How do you try and tackle this Caitlyn? If you're going to let it through, you need an answer to it. The Jhin, the Zoe, the ability for them to hit those 1 to 2 item spikes and look to ensure that, yes, whilst you do have the Caliber net to disengage away, makes it a little bit easy for us to guarantee these sleepy trouble bubbles.
And I'm very interested to see how these laning phases go, Skimmy, because Jhin Leona sounds pretty scary to me, but we've already mentioned kind of the strength of that Caitlyn. Bard, not traditionally a laner, but we saw it so much throughout the Gauntlet run that it can have great effect. And very cute here from the members of Direwolves, trying to hide exactly where the Olaf started by not showing in the lane. So we'll let the wave build up, and now Only has to wonder.
Certainly will have to wonder, as they will be on opposite sides of the map so far, both having opted for a blue buff clear. Get to keep tabs on how Ayla looks to try and navigate this one. Very proficient is he as well at this Bard, so no doubt knows exactly what decoy he's trying to achieve in this one. Will he be able to shut it down as this Leona? Will he be able to find those power spikes that come on through at level 3? And then on level 6, the all-in damage, especially when that Sunfire passive can kick in as well, is going to accentuate, especially, you'd see on a Jin's 4th shot, that purple shot is queued up right there. It's going to be a lot of damage that could potentially come on through.
Yeah, it certainly is. However, really liked what Decoy just did there. He grabbed the wave and held it off the turret. That means that this build back can be quite successful if they try and contest the push. Or Order must be winning. Like, is this Olaf actually heading down bot and looking for a little bit of a ganksy? Is Swiper going to miss that slam? And the junglers also might run into each other here, Skimmy.
Yeah, junglers collide. Top lane is where we're at right now, but one has a lot more HP than the other, as Only is fully topped on up there, using that safeguard to good effect, as you can imagine. But Miru, definitely when he pops his W, can look to try and activate a little bit more lifesteal as well, and there it goes. Looking to try and have a bit of a biff at it, and they will now equalize both down to 50.
And I wonder if Only feels like he is health enough to stick around and take this camp away. It looks like he does. Has the smite available as well. Now Chippies has to be worried about the fact that there's a Lee Sin behind him, so we might even see a recall and potentially a teleport back here as the wave does not look to be in his favour. Meanwhile, bottom lane, love to see this. Vital and Cupcake just go and protect the bottom lane Scuttle Crab. I talk about it all the time. There is nothing more tilting as a jungler if you get double scuttled. The game may as well be over, Skimmy, and the bottom lane of the Direwolves ensure that that's not going to happen to Miru.
Certainly isn't. If we're going to find priority, we're going to make more happen as well. Oh, that's a fantastic little Zenith Blade there, despite him flashing and cleansing away. It just was not enough. Harry, being aggressive as he is, will find himself that first blood, but there's the retribution, as Miru will find revenge for his fallen ally and make it a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and that's big for Direwolves, I feel, because I mention this a lot, but if you can get kills early in counter matchups, you can start to win them. And Mir is very integral to the success of the Direwolves lineup, and especially when you're playing something like Olaf. You can't be shut out of the game early, so, you know, the ability to maybe look for a counter jungle here, dip your head in and try and create some pressure is going to be pretty important. Harry on the other side of it, he'll be very happy with the fact that he's got himself first blood. He's already got himself a 10 CS lead as well. You heard Shock, he likes to play against Harry, thinks he plays a fun style of League of Legends. Well, that aggression not going to slow down anytime soon.
Fun aggression, probably into one of the most anti-fun champions as it stands with Zoe, looking to try and steal all your summoners, all the damage, and just be annoying if the luck goes his way. Redemption, Proto Belt, and as fun as it can be to be an Orianna, where you can hit a meaty shockwave, getting one shot off your screen, as Zoe can tend to do, sure is not too fun.
Yeah, and only needs to be careful here, because he actually hasn't taken a shop yet. And top as well as mid lane are about to start losing priority. So if he gets spotted out on this Scry's Bloom, which he will not, could have been the topside jungle disappearing. However, we'll get a preferential shop here, Skimmy. Will have himself a longsword over Miru, as well as control ward. And a full jungle to try and clear now means that he could be very close to level 6 by the time that next red buff spawns.
Certainly could be. Be interesting to see what he decides to do with it as a result, because both teams so far not too keen to go for either the the Dragon, or any big ganks, as we've seen that mid lane is where the action most dominantly probably will be. Top lane going to be no doubt left to its own devices right now to scale on through and allow Swipe to try and rotate across and do what he does best, which is farm up a storm and jump into the fight and abuse the fact that they will be a lot stronger as the 5v4s tend to take place. We'll see what happens in this bot lane. We'll keep tabs on how the Caitlyn can achieve that advantage, because both have opted for a cull, looking for that instant injection of gold. It's going to be a nice little trade that Rare will find. Unable to get that fourth and final shot off, but definitely able to 40 vital, as he'll be looking to pick up that Coco.
But I do wonder whether Rare is going to actually be able to fight, because he has no mana. And so much of Jin's damage in the early game is actually linked to his spell skimming.
Yeah.
So now with the Direwolves jungler on the bottom lane, I think that might just be a dragon given over, which definitely not good news for the Order lineup. They do like to stack dragons quite early, but I just don't know whether you can contest the Olaf anymore.
No traps, no snipe, no grenade as well. Going to be very limited on what you can do. You're very reliant now to hit those auto attacks, which have a bit of a reload time as well. What will be the response here from the Direwolves? Have they isolated that? Have they understood that as an opportunity for them to try and capitalize upon? Level 6 is there, obviously, for both bruises in the top side of the map, so they can look to assist if they want to try and jump on through. You might see both the junglers wait till 6 themselves. So I say that, but Miru has begun.
So we'll see whether this is just going to be a give, whether there's going to be any relief in the bottom lane, because I feel like now the Caitlyn also is just going to be able to continue to push out. And not a good start to the game from Order. They are up a little bit of gold, but in saying that, they are against a Kayle Caitlyn composition, scaling out the wazoo for the Direwolves, and their bottom lane seems to be starting to pick up a pretty major advantage.
Certainly do. And a lot of that comes down to the early protection there to guarantee not only the scuttle, but the zoning protection that ensures that they keep this wave as it is. Force the mana to be utilized as much as it can to mitigate the damage that is coming their way, and in the end allow them to go for that very first dragon. Going to be interesting now to see how things pan on out, given the 8-minute Herald spawn. How do Lane Phillips will look to favor these teams?
Let's check out the red buff, however, Skimmy, because it looks like only started that one up. However, there is a Kayle that is moving towards it as well, so he's going to have to give it up. Was level 6 to the Olaf level 5, but Miru does the right thing, actually turns around, takes himself a chicken camp to be able to get to the level 6 mark himself. And I thought there was going to be more fireworks in this game. I was really building this game up in my brain to be pretty hype. But only 2 kills at 8 minutes. It seems to be that both teams happy with the slow grind.
Certainly is, and it's interesting because I think myself and Rusty actually broke it down a little bit yesterday in the Pantheon Legacy game about those two teams in particular being some of the longest when it comes to average game time, but Direwolves have definitely propelled themselves up into that sort of 33-minute mark average game time, whereas Order are amongst it with the Chiefs when it comes to numbers of looking to go fast-paced games, be it aggressive, find that one moment in the game, and they're looking to try and steamroll ahead. So it's interesting when we build up this game, when those play styles collide, and given what Direwolves have drafted here, they definitely want to cater towards that late game.
And Rare has gone back and picked himself up an item that I don't understand that much, Skimmy. And he's going to go with Manamune Jin. so it's played a little bit internationally. I'm not the biggest fan of it in the world, but we'll see exactly how it goes this game. As Ayla seems to be topside of Summoner's Rift and looks to be trying to help with a Herald. The issue with that is Rare is solo bottom side of Summoner's Rift and can potentially be dope here as 4 members are heading down.
Certainly could be, and that is exactly what they're looking to try and do right now, as Miru's being given the ticket, the invitation, and the opportunity to run down to the bottom half of the map, and they'll be able to use a Blast Cone and a Magical Journey if they do see fit to ensure that there is nowhere to go. As we're looking at this Herald, but I can see in the minimap that he is pinging, I need help, where is my support? He's down to half, the axe has hit him on the head. Now come the teleports, might be too little too late, and it certainly is. The teleport's going to come on through. And Swiper, ever the ally, ever the teammate, will say, well, you're dead, I guess I'll just take this wave now.
And that's the second time in 2 days, actually, that Rare has made that exact mistake. He went toward a brush that he knew that he was being ganked on. So there's no point going toward that brush, Skimmy. The situation's already happened. They're going to be there. You need to stay underneath your turret. Instead, he burns both summoner spells. He takes all of his life, and he will fall down anyway. And will be a major lead now starting to accrue for the Direwolves lineup.
Certainly will be, and no doubt Vital's very happy with how that outcome has panned on through for them, as he's now going to build up a significant lead. Obviously, we talked about the fact that both AD carries have gone for this Cole, so even more money to look forward to. So he's ahead on that front, he's ahead in CS.
You know who's really happy about that? Chippies. He was down 20 CS, he was getting shoved in. Now all of a sudden, gets complete reprieve over the top side of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah.
Has teleport advantage. Next Dragon up in a minute 20. It's going to be a Mountain as well. He doesn't want that one to go over to the Scion. Now it looks like they can fight it.
Yeah, happy days for him, because he can continue to farm, do what he likes, do what he does best, hit that Gunblade. And just casually chill. Enjoy the lane phase as it is. Enjoy the fact that gold is dead even here, but they have been able to find themselves a small objective lead.
So now it becomes how to order use this Rift Herald, because a Herald is kind of a banked turret. At least a couple of plates on the first Herald drop, Skimmy, and if they're able to pick up a kill, you would expect them to be able to, you know, maybe even get the complete turret. Only has that one on Lee Sin, so he's going to definitely want to burn it before the dragon fight happens. The reason I mentioned that is Lee Sin obviously really needs his ward hops to be super effective in fights, and he's not going to have that available as long as he's holding the Herald. So I would expect a quick drop mid lane, potentially towards the bottom lane, if they're able to get the wave all the way shoved in.
Decoy there, scouting out for a Cosmic Binding, looking for the target to be Seven once more. Very successful, but has the mobility to disengage away to safety. Dragon spawning in just under 10 seconds, and as you highlight, it is a Mountain Dragon. Those resistances, whilst not too strong at this stage of the game, will be invaluable if we do reach the elusive level 16 KO mark.
You can see that they're trying to catch out Rare on this rotate. Rare's also started up the Dragon, only has a control ward, but they have rotated Swiper down here, so I wonder whether the Direwolves just say, okay, we'll instead just give our KL some plates. You guys can have this objective.
My brain lagged there for a second, we said only.
Oh!
But I understood afterwards, and I'll understand this, because that is a an AD carry, left to his lonesome, and a similar outcome as to the first time he fell on down. He's going to be deleted on his own in this part of the map. Lost in the jungle. More damage, more chance for Vital to secure as much gold as he can in the next 45 seconds.
That is a terrible early game from Rare. He is down 25 CS in his counter pick matchup, and he has now died twice when he absolutely should not have. So we'll see whether that comes back to really hurt them, because this Caitlyn, now 137 CS Skimmy, is farming at the clock and going to take a complete solo turret by herself.
Certainly is. And I think you have to start looking at, okay, what is the saving grace here for Order? And if you look on their end, Hayri is well ahead of the clock. He's done a phenomenal job ever since he got that first blood into Shock. He's remained and continued his 20 CS buffer, sitting at 150.
Looks like topside Forest, there's going to be a big fight. You saw the Order players burn double summoner spells there. You can see it as well, as Bard actually going to use the ultimate. It looks like they were thinking about collapsing again onto the Olaf. So they've played away from the Jhin, let the turret go down bottom lane and tried to pick up top lane. We'll see whether they get another charge here, or whether that is all the turret wrote. But
Direwolves,
really in the area gold up.
Yeah, the Direwolves are definitely up in gold. And whilst you'd say the Bard is there to, obviously stop what this Herald can achieve, they haven't been able to keep numbers in the area to prevent the second charge going on forward. That opens up a real win condition for them to play around now.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, Swiper still far ahead of this Kale, going to be able to have himself an adaptive helm at this stage of the game, plus the Barmies. Kale not even yet completed the first item. But that's not really Chippy's concern. Chippy's just going to sit around and kind of chill. He's going to wait for 2 or 3 items into this game, and then he becomes a win condition. Before then, it's up to this man on your screen, Vital, to be able to just continue consistent pressure across lanes. And I think he's definitely going to be able to do that, Skimmy, because he is quite fed. As you can see, Infinity Edge already picked up there. So I'm a fan of what we're seeing right now from Vital, and this could become a must-pick ban in the Gauntlet if he continues to play it well. This is an area that teams often have tried to target it against the Direwolves.
Well, they certainly have. We've seen what he's been able to do when he's been on these hyper-carry champions, the likes of an Aphelios, for instance. What's missing is the Pocket Vayne game, no doubt. Another patch, when it gets slightly buffed, we might get to see that debut, but as it stands right now, we're very much concerned on how it works here today. 15 minutes in, 3 kills to 1, and it is the Direwolves that, as you say, continue that 2k gold lead, but with another Dragon spawning up in 2 minutes. Or to flip the map once again, keep this cow running around and looking to try and hoover up any kind of CS that he can find.
As they go in the mid lane.
What I'm looking for it. There's the curtain call, but that'll get interrupted there by the Tempered Fate, as the support will cancel the AD carry. That'll be all it is.
And I wonder whether that was actually what they were looking for there, whether they just wanted to get the Bard ultimate out, because you can see immediately they run towards the Rift Herald. They've brought Swiper back up again, and it's curious that if you wanted to fight, you would go for that immediately, as Teleport coming in. Direwolves deciding to fight this one.
I'm also keen to make this one happen right now. Chippies does have a level 11. Divine Judgment is there. It will mean a great deal, but Vital does not have a cleanse. Rare will have some advantage. Are they going to look for this one?
Look at the positioning of Swiper. There's just no way they can run through that choke point.
Well, they've decided to go for it anyway, but that is the beauty of a Bard as the Shockwave goes on through. Shock, much of the Shockwave, showcasing what he can do, that he's in the area, and he wants to let you know.
So a little bit of a wasted teleport there, and it looks like full resets coming across from both teams. You would expect this Dragon to be pretty hotly contested. It is another Windsoul Skimmy for those at home keeping track. What did that Herald give the Direwolves, however? If you have a look at the bottom lane creep wave, that is a big win. And when we talk about creep waves, what we're talking about is a big win, as I just spilled water absolutely all over my desk, is the fact that it was able to crash and now is pushing back in Direwolves' favor. And you see how many creeps they've picked up there. So that means whoever goes down there is probably going to have like an extra 200 or 300 gold worth of creeps. That's worth a kill in the long run, Skimmy. So I think even though they didn't get the objective itself, they will extend their gold lead, at least for now, just based off this bottom lane creep wave. That is if someone goes and collects it. If no one goes and collects it, that's just a whole bunch of experience and gold going to waste.
So he is. You look after yourself with all that water that's gone to waste, and we'll see what happens here in this game so far. 18 minutes in, another Dragon spawns, buff to buff. That's what exactly Order are looking to try and achieve right now, and no doubt wanting to try and bait out that Tempered Fate by summoning the Herald. That would be a bit of a big win for them if they can go into this next fight with a major initiation tool like that down. We have to see what happens as Order once again set themselves up first in the river. There'll be Swiper that looks to soak up all this damage. Now the skill shot champions that Order have will be looking to try and play it from the flank. Act as the defenders. And that'll be successful in their attempt in doing so, as we actually have ourselves a small little pause here at the 18-minute mark. Second Dragon has gone across here to Order. It is a Cloud Dragon, as you mentioned. And a quick stock check here of the items would showcase that, you know, the Manamune still a world away from being completed. Vital is well on his way to getting that second item with the Zeal coming on through, so we're not going to get that Storm Razor rush for a second item BF Sword insanity, kind of like what we saw from Praetive yesterday. And yeah, I think this is Order showcasing that they're looking to try and stabilize and ensure that they gain a little bit of control before the game goes a little bit too longer.
Yeah, and I think that what Order just said there is we need to be able to give them gold to force a soul fight before, 35 minutes. Because if the game goes for longer than 35, 40 minutes, we're just going to be outscaled. So we need to be able to, continue building a little bit of this snowball. They got themselves 2 Rift Heralds, they've now got themselves 2 Dragons. Maybe if they burn a Bard Ultimate here, they'll be able to take down another turret and try and force the tempo of this game, Skimmy, because it seems that it is going quite slow. And if I'm the team with the Caitlyn as well as the Kayle, I am very happy for a slow game to go across. So really impressive from the Direwolves so far. I've mentioned they've like kind of picked on the tendency of Order players. They obviously saw what happened yesterday when Rare was turret dove. They've replicated that play flawlessly. They've then gone for it again and been able to catch him out on the weak side. So I think that they've played around their strong side Caitlyn really phenomenally, and they haven't allowed the counter picks of Order, outside of maybe a little bit of CS mid lane, I think it's fair to say, to really get themselves the advantages that we would expect.
Well, just a quick update for you guys watching at home. There's been a small player peripheral issue. Just been met away there from the refs. That we've got about just under 3 minutes to resume as the pause has now been fixed. So to remain in terms of competitive integrity, we've just got to wait for that to catch on up, and we'll be able to jump back into the fray of things for Game 2 here in our second day of Super Week, as it will be Order. Already guaranteed in that second spot going into playoffs. No pressure on their shoulders, knowing that they're going to a Direwolves comp that need to find just one win to guarantee themselves that spot and crush the hearts of any Avant player and fan. And as we've seen so far, Vital is well ahead of the clock, looking to try and showcase what he can do going into the gen, as you mentioned. But we're starting to see glimpses of Order fight back and control the most 2 recent objectives. I think you're muted there, Spawn. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
No, I'm not muted. What I was going to say is I think you use the word stabilize, right? So I think that what kind of happened is that they sacrificed a little bit of solo lane farm, and they've brought Swiper towards these objectives quite early. They've brought Harry towards these objectives quite early, and they've tried to fight, back-to-back Rift Herald into Dragon. But really credit to the Direwolves. They've just said, you know what, we're not interested in them. Unless it's going to be a game-changing fight. It's only 18 minutes in. We've got ourselves a Kayle. We've got ourselves a Caitlyn. Why would we be taking these fights? We've got an Orianna. She's going to scale up nicely as well. Let's just take the game slow. Let's not give them the game on their terms. We're a slower team now, as you mentioned, up to around the 34-minute mark. Order's a quick team. They play around 31-45.
Yeah.
We want the game to go above 35 minutes if we're going to win.
And it's interesting to see if that opportunity be afforded to them, because we've not really seen that full 5v5 right yet. And obviously Direwolves don't want it to be that right now, because they are the ones ahead in the lead based on what they've been able to achieve from those CS advantages. They're quite content just to continue to farm on up. Level 11 is already there for the Kayle, and much like you talk about, level 11 out of 16, 12 out of 16 and so forth for these scaling champions. No doubt that's exactly what they're banking on. Look, we're quite content just to keep farming. We're quite happy to allow Order to have that invitation to say, yeah, cool, go have a Herald, go have a Dragon. It doesn't mean too much for us at this stage. We've got our strengths in the early game there well and truly. Just need to navigate now this mid game and ensure that you don't have that comeback potential.
Yeah, and we'll see how Order now navigate kind of the mid to later stages, because they're 50 CS nearly down in the 80 carry role. And you do have to say, even though there's not going to be a tank that Rare has to deal with, there's great shielding and just a bunch of damage and pick potential that's going to come out of the Direwolves lineup. Rare actually basing on a ward here. Bard in the area. Are they going to find him out?
They're looking for him. They do indeed. Not spotted by a ward, but spotted by their intuition. And that is the damage that Vital can do, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the 2-item spike. He got the recall first. He used the rapid fire cannon to great success. And he gets another kill on the Jhin. I nearly called him Zen, but he's a Jhin.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he's a 0-3-0 Jhin. Donuts in the 2 categories that you want to have some kills, and a 3 in the ones that you absolutely do not want to, Skimmy. And this is just allowing more and more momentum to build up for the Direwolves. You can see that's now, 45 CS, couple of turrets picked up for the Caitlyn. They've got complete topside control of the jungle. Harry can't go catch his creep wave anymore. And the map being split on a Kayle side, who is just safely farming at turret, is a very welcome sight.
Certainly is. Very happy as Chippy's right now as he's going toe-to-toe with this CS as well, both sitting at around about the 160-170 mark. They will allow their AD carries and mid laners to do their best. Shock's actually done a fantastic job. We highlighted earlier how far ahead Harry was. He was well ahead of the clock at around about the 13-minute mark. Well, in those recent minutes, Shock has done a fantastic job of breaking what was a 30 CS gap and putting it back to square even nearly.
You'd have to say across the board, the Direwolves have just performed better today. They took the early pressure that Order was throwing at them. You know, a couple of good ganks coming across from Ayla and Only being paired together. And now they've just been able to completely kick Order's butt. Order might be able to return the favour here. Instead, just dropping a Herald directly into a Bard again. So that's going to be another blocked Herald.
We're looking for it, and Vital, with this amount of range and with the red buff, was definitely able to abuse it. Out goes to Tempered Fate, there goes to Herald. Looking to deny that first headbutt, and it will be successful in it. But the top lane Bruisers are on that side flank now, playing in the jungle, looking to try and have a bit of a biff at it, and the redemption that Bard has been able to buy, based on the fact he's got 2 kills and 2 assists, he's used to good effect to keep them topped up and healthy and ensure that this mid-tier 1 will not fall.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they need to do. They just need to keep themselves healthy enough to repel this assault on the mid lane turret. They have really great wave clear. Shockwave!
Oh, that's fantastic there. The Solar Flare too little too late. Harry went dancing. He went for the kill. He went for the one-shot, but Shock instantly cleansed. Hit him with the Shockwave. And said sweet dreams to that one.
Yeah, really well played from Shock. You can see Order getting desperate, Skimmy. They know this game is becoming increasingly difficult to win. They're not able to find the avenues of attack that they're used to. They're getting outscaled. Their AD carry is just, you know, an item behind, a complete item behind his counterpart. And this Kayle, as you mentioned, now 13 out of 16. Now probably 2 items. So, going to be tough to be able to continue this one. Have they spotted out where this jungler is?
Have they caught Mirror? He doesn't have a blast clone to run away from. Forced to flash back into that top river. Could be a big cooldown that comes back to haunt them, because another dragon will be spawning in a minute.
And Order must get this dragon. If Order do not get this dragon, you can pretty much just count the game over at this stage. Because scaling will be completely negated. The snowball will be completely negated. Scaling will be completely against them.
Yeah.
So they continue to push their sides, continue to look for collapses, but honestly, I think the Direwolves are just reading the state of play very nicely.
Certainly are. This 2k gold lead that they've found themselves in for the majority of this game has not changed anytime soon, and they're very happy with how things have gone. You can see the frustration only moments prior with Order looking in mid lane. It's going to happen again. This time he's got the fancy feet, and this time he won't get as punished, but he might still, as he's forced to flash into that Dragon Pit. Pops the exhaust and runs to his team. He runs into a Caitlyn and hits her with the headshot, and it's Chippies of all people, the Kel Master, who finds himself at that kill. There's a Temper Fate, there's a Flash Wall. Cosmic Binding will not find that stun. The Direwolves not looking for the 5v5s, but definitely excelling in these little skirmishes.
And you know what that secures them? That pick right away, straight into an Air Drake, and that is going to be Soul Point, completely denied by the Direwolves. Perfect side of Summoner's Rift right there. And you can see that Miru starting to have a brilliant performance. 2-0 and 2 on this Olaf. Level 12. He is down in CS, which you're not used to seeing as an Olaf, but I think that's just been him positioning very well on Summoner's Rift. And now 2 dragons apiece, 3,500 gold lead for the Direwolves. It's going to take a really spectacular play from Order to get back into this one.
Yeah, it certainly is. You can see that whilst Order are the ones looking to try and find those picks, they're the ones actually getting collapsed upon, because the Direwolves are finding those opportunities, finding those moments around the map to say, there's a rotation that's going to happen. Maybe, just maybe, we can catch somebody on that rotate. And you say it's going to take something a little bit special here. Execution, as much as scaling is a big thing to talk on through, you've got to be able to execute upon it.
Yeah, you certainly do. I mean, the one thing that Order does have in their composition is range. If they get an area of the map controlled, they should be able to continue to poke down their opponent. But what we've seen from the Direwolves is just a no hesitation ability to pull the trigger when that's happening. You know, think about the mid lane shockwave that we saw from the Orianna to be able to pull the Zoe back in. Think about the Bard ultimates that have caught Rare out a couple of times. They haven't allowed Order to actually have an easy time of setting up here, Skimmy. And I think that is most of why this game has gone so well.
Well, we'll get to see what happens now, because it's the Direwolves still continuing to hunt for these fights, and much like Harry could hope to try and pull it all away. There's only one where he's going back, and it's coming back into the hands of Direwolves looking for that kill. Swiper's going to charge it in man mode at time. Titan in the top lane, looking to try and get that 1v1, but not going to find it because he's going to get collapsed upon by 4 as the teleport comes on through, and Jin does what he can. Divine Judgment will ensure that no target will fall on down here. And Swiper now will enter that afterlife, but cannot follow through that magical journey. It's not a pretty sight here at the 25-minute mark, because they'll be looking for more, as Red, for some reason, is going into the red buff.
Yeah, they're going to look for the Baron as well, Skimmy. On the back end of all that shenanigans, the Direwolves pick themselves up 3 kills. Once again, a decisive collapse. They will take themselves the biggest objective on Summoner's Rift. They'll take themselves about a 6,500 gold lead as well. And scaling complete, mission accomplished, and Direwolves should be heading to the playoffs.
They should be indeed. This one win is all they needed to prevent Avant from making it there in that 5th and final spot. It's a solid performance from them. We wondered, you know, what kind of caliber of team when you've got teams that are inexperienced, teams that are veterans in the scene. What does pressure mean to them? And what does it mean? Well, at the 26-minute mark, it means a 6k gold lead, and it means a team comp that is built to scale is well and truly soon to be there.
Certainly is. Look at the items on the Kale. Going to go back. Get the Nash's Tooth already. 3 items also on the Caitlyn. Vital is just monstrous. No way you want to be anywhere near him. Also 2 levels up. We talk about experience a lot, but just some bonus stats coming across. And Order need to look for hard engage.
Well, they're going to look to try and force it right now. Ayla's the one that jumps on in there, looking to try and start the fight off. But everybody from the Direwolves can look to just run away from the AoE cone that Curtain Call presents. They're not interested. No, they've got the Baron buff. They want to set up and siege it. They want to use these minions to take down some turrets. They've got 3 turrets to 2 so far. They want more. They're not interested in whatever Order are throwing their way so far. But Order continue to sniff. It will be only that jumps on forward first of all. And that's not where you should be, apparently, as his jungle does not belong to him anymore. The Shockwave takes him down in an instant. And I will not only prevent the engage, but prevent your defense.
And now how do you stop the Direwolves just continuing to encroach on your territory? You can see that Vital has just continued to play safe. Flawless game here on the Caitlyn. 0-0 and 6 and take a majority of the towers. And on the flip side of Summoner's Rift, you have a Kayle and an Olaf charging forward.
They want more. There goes the redemption, damage and healing. That's what they need, and that's what they will find is Miru with the Ragnarok pop. He'll just run himself out of harm's way. Not going to fall on down in this exchange. No, not indeed. 7 kills and 7 stacks on this Orianna for the Magi's that has been purchased. He's feeling confident today, and based on these last few ultimates, you can understand why.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think outside of that first death, he's played a really great game to be able to come back into this one. Don't let the CS fool you. He's been giving a lot of waves over to the Kayle as well as the Caitlyn. They've only played 2 waves majority of this game, Skimmy. But his shockwaves have been on point. He's about to be level 16 as well. And still proving to be a real thorn in the side.
Level 16, not too far away. 30 seconds on another dragon. Both teams sitting at 2 apiece right now. Going to be very interesting to see what Order do as to how they can set themselves up. Can they gather themselves with some mid-priority? You're going to see there. Ayla on the other side of your screen looks to use that Hex Slash into the shrub. I don't think he's been detected right now, so he's potentially got himself a little bit of a deep flank.
But the issue is, he's on the opposite side of mid lane as where he wants to be. The dragon's spawning over the other side. And they might be caught him out here.
Yep, he's going to reveal himself immediately, and despite having all that mitigation there with his shield, it just does not mean anything. The Tempered Fate will be eluded. They'll run out of that one, and Swipe will try to do the same, but the ramp up, the charge speed on it is just not enough. He'll fall on down. Too little too late here, as Order now will be in a 3v5 situation, and the Direwolves can look to sacrifice members to not only get the dragon, but to continue the shove and mid.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they're going towards the dragon at all, because you see with 2 members dead, a Caitlyn as well as a big bottom creep wave, why not just push the waves in? Why not continue the full court press? But you can see it doesn't really cost all that much, just a little bit of Miru's time and effort. They'll take the last remaining outer turret. They will just go back to base as well, continue to purchase up these items, and they're really rubbing the salt into the wounds of Order right now. This is tutorial style, Skimmy. These games hurt to lose. When not only have you been beaten in teamfights, you're being beaten around Summoner's Rift, and they're just grinding you into the dirt.
No doubt here. This is Direwolves looking to try and make a statement right now. We mentioned yesterday when they went up against Gravitas that their runner form recently, it hadn't been looking too good. They had a defeat to Chiefs, Order, Legacy, and Avant. Those 4 games in a row. It hadn't been too pretty for them. But time and time again, they say, look at history. That should tell you enough of this organization. These calibers of players as to what we can achieve right now. And at the 30-minute mark, 16 is there in the Orianna. It can't be too far away for this Kayle. 12 kills to 1 and a 10k gold lead as well. It is the humiliation match.
Yeah, this has been a shellacking. Call it what it is. Order definitely been outclassed today. As we said, not really playing for all that much, as they have already secured themselves 2nd position on the ladder. But no one likes to lose a game on broadcast in this fashion, Skimmy. And you can see they're getting desperate. A couple of times now, Only has been cheating off waves, looking for a pick on the side lane, and he just hasn't been able to find anything. Again, they set up in 2 lanes, mid and top, and they're just controlling that area around the Baron spawn and mitten until that's up and available. And that would need to be the best team fight of all time for Order to win it from 10,000 gold down, because I don't know how they do it.
Struggling to find a way to find that explanation as well here, Spawn, because we're looking at that AEC department and there's a full item advantage. Yes, the Miramana has now been completed. It was around about the 27-minute mark we saw that spike coming through, so quite late for the standards as they do go, if you're using Ezreal as a bit of a benchmark. But Hayri hoping that this Zoe and these skill shots can continue to land and hopefully be a difference maker, given that there is no Ocean Soul for them to juggle around. Yes, they've got mobility. Yes, they've got ultimate reduction.
Shock.
Will it be enough? Shock's just going to take him out. It's as quick as can be. There's no chance to outplay that one, I'm afraid. And as much as Swipe wants to run forward, he's forced to run back. Mid turret is getting lower and lower by the second. The pressure is starting to crumble. It's starting to get to them. They're starting to get a little bit tilted here. You can feel it in the air. 5 seconds and the Baron is up. And the Direwolves still camping it.
Yeah, and there's just nothing Order can do. Still 25 seconds left on their strongest member, who is now a 1-4 Zoe after starting the game very nicely. You can see Order looking to approach, but that's just going to be dead before they even get there, Skimmy. They're not going to be able to get the Lee Sin into the pit. Direwolves get their second Baron of the game, and now Order need to run because they are just being flanked from all directions.
They certainly are. Halo looking to try and disengage in that shrub, but nope, you're not allowed to go that direction. They are running around like ants in the night. Left, right, and center, looking to try and find a safe place, make it a haven, pitch a tent, and hope for the best. And they've chosen their kill target. It is the support. And it will be Miru and Decoy that take him down quite handily. The pinch has begun. The second Baron buff is in Direwolves' favor. And no doubt now they look to try and get some inhibitors with it.
Certainly should. They should look to close the game here. 33 minutes in. You can see that they've got all the items they need. Harry going to take a boatload of damage from that ultimate as well, so he'll be sent back to base. And just the command attack does half of Rare's health. If he's going to teleport back into the top side of Summoner's Rift, Skimmy, you feel like with spells being used, with Order being locked in their base by Caitlyn traps, this should be about all she wrote.
Certainly should be. They've set themselves up the wall of protection. There goes the trap that you can't be disabled when a Scion is charging right at your head. He's forced to try and target 2. He's forced to then flash out as well. Redemption will top them up, but they will manage to find 1. That's the first shot then. This could be big here for Rare. Forced to burn that heal to make sure it happens. But as he comes out of that stopwatch, there is no redemption. He's going to fall on down very, very quickly. We talk about a command attack. Well, what about a shockwave? Now, Decoy. He's the one that took the brunt of that damage, but can just use that Mikhail's quite candidly. Be quite happy about how things will work, making sure that Vital not only has a Summoner Cleanse, but an insurance policy behind that. And the Baron buff, still a minute to go. We'll find the first inhibitor, and now it is game on towards the Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be impossible to defend. Look how quickly they take the turrets down. Harry's going to try.
He's going to try. As valiant as he can be. Harry continues to chuck out those skill shots. 1 auto attack and his health bar is down to 50%. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting and it is absurd, but it is the Direwolves. They will be your team booking the 5th and final spot for playoffs.
And what a way to do it, Skimmy. They come in and they 19-2 Order. That is an absolute disgusting game of League of Legends to watch. Really, from about level 5, they just had complete control of the game. Bottom lane got locked in lane for Order. They took the first dragon that put the soul point behind already, and then they were just able to eke out advantages around Summoner's Rift. And really, credit to Mir as well as Vital, the 2 Korean imports, because they look like they were playing the game at a completely different level today. They will book their way to the playoffs, and they look to be maybe one of the scariest 5th seeds we have seen in the history of the OPL.
It certainly is. They're going to showcase that, hey, this is a team that you may have forgotten about, but we are still here. We were in the Split 1 playoffs, and we're now guaranteeing ourselves a go-to contender in the Split 2 playoffs as well. We're going to jump ourselves into another break, but when we return, it's another banger. It is Legacy, taking on Avant.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe, and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
It's got it! This is deadly! It's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.